Okay, welcome to ACO Chess. My name is Ruben Salimu. I'm going to go over an element of chess which is quite interesting, like especially when you see two players playing against each other, one who is significantly stronger than the other, where the differences in understanding affect the result. 9 out of 10, most games are lost due to tactical mistakes, and being able to identify when this occurs is very important for you as a player and as a trainer and in the overall understanding of chess. This game is a game between Kobalia, who I understand is a very strong grandmaster, and his opponent Muhammad Abdul is a 2112. That's about 400 points or so lower, 400 to 500 points lower than Kobalia. And in this game, you get to see their differences in strength. We won't go like very deep on the positions. We just need to be able to identify the different kinds of mistakes made during the game. So the opening is a typical King's Indian attack, where the stronger player here just sets up his pieces where he knows they'll be much stronger than his opponents. And here, you get the first moment where it's not a blunder, but it's almost a pointless spin, where you're just, without being forced, maybe committing to giving up your bishop. So here the grandmaster knows that now if he gets a bishop pair, let's say after queen takes, you have a significantly permanent advantage in the long run in this position, because these two bishops will prove to be quite handy as the position opens up. So already in this way, you start seeing the differences in understanding. And I think maybe for the lower rated player at this point, that's when it may be okay to him that exchanging my bishop here, I'm just giving someone something to play with that they didn't have before. So he decides to keep the bishop, which is also a terrible decision, because here you start to realize that the bishop is useless and will start to be missed on the queen side. So the grandmaster continues with queen c2, queen c7, a4. This is a very typical, again, strategic theme where you want to place your knight on c4, but if you just rush and put it on c4, b5 will be played and you will lose this important outpost. So by playing a4, he secures the outpost for the knight. Now it's interesting to note that in this position, white could have played also for knight h4, going for the f5 square, and here bishop g6 to prevent knight f5 would then be met by knight c4, and if a6, then a4. It's important also again to observe that, let's say you play b5 here instead of a6, then there's again natural moves that can be played by white, which are like this knight here, and the square on f5 is just taken without much of a fight. So a6, a4, again securing the outpost, and here knight back and exploiting the light square weaknesses in black's camp. So here a4, a6, now he wants to play b5, and now knight to c4. Very important. Again, he's implementing a strategic idea, but this time there's a bit of a trick to it, because rook a d8. Now the grandmaster, having the superior position, knows that tactics now work in his favor. If you rush to play b5 in this position, he's simply going to take, and then take on a8, and after rook takes, take on e5. And now knight takes, queen takes, and f4. Now if you go queen b8 to protect the rook, as you'll see, it's important now, e5, the pawn attacks the knight, the bishop attacks the rook, and now if you go knight d7, he's got this, he could take on a8, but this gives black some counterplay. I'll show you now. But he's got the move queen f5, and after bishop g6 takes on d7, and he's recovered his piece with a better position. He's threatening f5. He's also threatening bishop on a8. This is a lost position. He's threatening the castle, I mean. The idea of taking on a8 still works after queen takes a8, g4 here, and f5, and after bishop a5 takes on f5, and in this particular situation is up the exchange. So that's why black goes rook a d8 first, and now a5. This is again a typical strategic maneuver to prevent b5. Now he fixes the weaknesses on the queen side. You see how the moves, Fischer used to say timing is very important in chess. The moves pretty much work for the stronger player because he's quite familiar with a lot of ideas and themes that he implements his strategic concepts using tactical themes. So bishop g6, putting pressure on e4. Now knight h5. First of all, bishop protects e4 with the queen. The knight now heads for the light squares. Taking the bishop would be kind of pointless because the bishop is dead, really. An interesting idea maybe for black, h6 would have been met by knight h4, again going for the f5 square, and after e8 going f3, limiting the range of this bishop, and after king h8, knight to f5. Bishop g6, knight e3, and now after, let's say, bishop f8, queen f2, you can just see the bind that white has on the black position. You'll be able to slowly improve his position. A typical idea is to go to b6 and come back to d5 with this knight, and he's got a grip on the whole position. Again, b5 is not possible because of a b6 pawn and passant. So bishop g6, knight h4, and knight f5. Here, white had another idea he could play, which was knight g6, h6, and then follow with h4. Again, the bishop can go to h6. And this is a very unique position because it's very difficult for black to actually improve his position. You can't play rook d7, bishop h3 is annoying. You can't play to d6, the rooks can't do anything. So white can slowly improve his position. So knight f5, queen here. Again, you've got to wonder, what if bishop takes? But then pawn takes, and here you have to look at a few ideas. So white is putting pressure on this pawn. It's currently protected by the queen and bishop, but he could potentially take on c6 and take on e5. Now, the natural idea to try and protect is impossible because of this move bishop g5, and now is damaging your pawn structure. And if you play the move h6, then bishop e3, bishop f8, queen b3, and he wants to play queen b6. After exchange of queens, the knight goes to b6. It's very strong and also quite limiting, and it can potentially come to d5. This position will be quite overwhelming for black. So that's why he goes queen d7, and now bishop g5, h6, take, removing this strong knight which protects this square, and after bishop f6 goes h4, limiting the bishop and what it can do. Again, there's a simple threat now, rook a d1, and white is invading on the 6th rank with the knights. So black goes here. Okay, this is a terrible move, this queen d6, I think, and we'll get to it now. But what could he play? If he goes bishop e7, it's a terrible backward move. And if he goes queen c7, knight goes to e3, and it's going to d5 at the right moment. If he takes on f5, pawn takes f5, queen c7, and queen b3, again we've got this idea of queen to b6, and the position is crumbling. So queen d3, queen takes, rook takes, and now we see a different kind of mistake. having been under a lot of pressure strategically against a strong player, now black makes a tactical mistake. And the tactical mistake is in this position, knight d6 actually loses material. So knight obviously clearly attacks b7. That's not the problem. If you protect, that's when you realize what the problem is. If you want, it's a good exercise. Pause the video for a moment. See if you can find what would be white's next move. I hope you've paused it. In this position, just a simple bishop to f1 wins material. The rook will be forced to take the knight, and after knight takes, just is down the exchange. Because after bishop f1, the rook cannot go to d2, it cannot go to d4, it cannot go to d5. It can go to f3, but after bishop e2, the result is pretty much the same. So that's why here he decided to play rook e6 and give up the pawn, but now the position just pretty much crumbles. So this is really the most clear tactical mistake he made. And after here, white is a pawn up, so his strategy is to try and exchange pieces without necessarily compromising his position. And here rook d7. The rook, once it's on an open file, its objective is to get to the 7th or 8th rank. So bishop e2, knight e3. Now you can see he's just dominating and getting onto all these critical squares. Bishop goes there, rook there. And now, again, maybe we could say it's a tactical mistake, but there was not really any easy move to play. He could have tried maybe rook e7 with the idea that, okay, if you take on c6, he takes on b7, so it's fine there. Here, and bishop f1 taking on a6. I mean, if you take on f1, king f1, c5 and a6 are going to fall. If not, like eventually, like these pieces have, this ending is lost for black. So here, and the a pawn is pretty much overwhelming. So he goes bishop b5, and now you have these tactical scenarios where the position is hanging by a thread for black. First of all, knight d5, and this move comes with a lot of threats. Bishop h3 is coming, the knight is quite active on d5, so rook e8, and now the only piece that's protecting the knight is the bishop. So white gives black this pawn. If you take, then the knight falls, so it decides to go there. Maybe this is another point to pause the video and see what we will play, another tactical theme to win this knight over here on c6. I hope you've paused. Now b3, bishop takes b3, rook takes c6, bishop here. Of course, yeah, b3, the idea is that the knight is diverted from protecting the knight, and now for 2 pawns, for a pawn and a bishop, black has got 2 minor pieces. So bishop here, take, here, knight takes, check, and he goes here. The idea is maybe you can win this knight, but it turns out that after rook c8, you can't actually win material. So I want you to pause the video and tell me what you, or at least find what the solution would be after rook takes. I hope you've done. If you've done that, you'll find that okay, knight e7 check is just winning. The computer likes rook takes f8, but this could be practically difficult. So the best move is rook takes, and after bishop takes, to simply play rook here, and you win the a pawn, and that ending is easy to play. In the game, after f6, h5 was played to bind the king at the back rank, and after rook king f3, rook c1, king g4, it becomes abundantly clear that this position is completely lost. There is a lot of ideas, but the king can come through into the position and help win the game. I just thought this game was very instructive for a game that was played just, this past week, and you can learn a lot from it. I'll try to put the game's PGN into the attachment on this video. I hope it was very instructive, and I'll bring you more.